So you can think
I
up
think
some
sodium
pretty
and
flexible
potassium
models for it,
ions,
I
and
think.
I think like sodium and potassium ions are and are the biggest problem for the soul. So even if it's an antenna, you have an interaction problem, right? There's no mechanism of interaction between the brain, which you demonstratively need to have thoughts and to even have this conversation, to think about it, to like even have the conception of the soul exist in your mind. You need to be able to have those thoughts. In order to have those thoughts, we can like trace that those neurons are firing, and we know what causes those neurons to fire, right? Like that's just demonstratively the case. And we know what causes neurons to fire, and we know what causes those electrical signals to go down the dendrites through the like myelinated dendrites all to the other neurons, so that we can continue to have thoughts and then have more complex thoughts and move our bodies and everything. And we know what causes that neuron to fire is an action potential. That action potential happens when there's a certain concentration of sodium and potassium ions on either side of that neuronal cell membrane. And then a chemical called ATP is released by the mitochondria within that cell membrane to open up the threshold gate so that those sodium and potassium ions can go to rush to either side of the ion to generate the electrical impulse to cause that neuron to fire. So those are all physical things that we can measure. We can look at their material. They're material things. So those sodium and potassium ions need to be in a certain constitution on either side of the cell membrane, like a certain configuration, a certain threshold, in order for that neuron to fire. So if they're not there in that configuration, that neuron doesn't fire for you to have that thought. Demonstratably the case, absolute fucking fact. There's no arguing that. That's true.